All right, we're at the end of the session, so now I'm really the one between you and a cocktail out there. So a couple of things for today. We heard a lot about curiosity and being curious, asking the right questions. We heard about identifying your needs, your requirements, the concept of an MVP, identifying your success matrix of how do you identify what is going to work, what is not going to work. We also heard about everyone having some data challenges and that needs to be corrected, or that's not a one and done. That's probably an evergreen kind of situation. And also with that, start to do something now. We also heard about, hey, it's okay to fail and try new things. And some of the other words that came up was fun during an AMS implementation. That's pretty cool. Also, trust came up too as we partner and get some things done. And the other thing is from this morning's session, I guess the question that still remains out there is, did we actually land on the moon? So thanks for that thought. It's going to be bugging me. Anyway, those are my final thoughts. Just some wrap-up housekeeping things. The content from today will be available on the BSpeak platform. We will send you an email with the link and your password and your email to get in there. And that'll be available for the next couple of weeks. So if you didn't sign on today, if you're in person, we'll send out a link so you can do that. The other thing is, join.org community, as you can see, this is just one of our thought leadership sessions that we do a year. As a member, you also have access to a lot of content and resources, but one of the most valuable, I think, resources or tools we can offer are these leadership and advisory circles. And instead of having me tell you all about it, I'm going to ask Harriet to come up and just say a couple words about it, because she's been in several of our leadership circles, and I believe that's helped you out both professionally and personally. So thank you. Oh, she has notes.
I have a couple notes because I feel like I talk about these a lot. I'm not, involved with a lot of the work that Sherry and Kevin do with some of the other services they provide because I'm not a client of theirs. I really just love coming to their events. And the one thing I will always hype and support that I do consistently, religiously, are these peer learning circles. I don't know what you guys call them even. It's just whatever. Circles, the circles. I have been a member of 2 different peer advisory circles for many, many years. And they are by far the most valuable professional development activity that I do. I've dropped in and out of memberships from various organizations, but I have never dropped this particular activity. And why? What's the big deal? Well, I have a group of people, 2 different groups of people that give me tremendous value for 3 different reasons. And this is why I made notes, because I really had to distill it down. I go to talk to these circles for reasons of trend scouting. Like when you're hunkered down and doing your job every day, it's hard to kind of get lost in your one track set of problems. Other people have the same problems. And just like you, those problems vary depending on the season, the trends outside in the workplace, the trends impacting society. You're never alone, and we all know that. And so we know we should go to meetings and talk about that. And sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. But when you meet with one little group of people in a confidential space, so you go into that interaction in this environment knowing that what you share stays in that group, you can kind of share your stories in a very different way. And pretty soon you begin to see oh, this AI thing, I've heard it now 5 times. This is not an isolated, I better get on that. Or, oh, everybody's migrating to this kind of technology in general, and I've never even heard of it. I better talk to the IT people and see if they're doing something similar. You begin to pick up things that you wouldn't just normally hear on the street, or you're not necessarily seeing in the webinars or on social media from your peers. that kind of tip you off and help you stay ahead. So I love the trend scouting part of that value in it for me. I also love the problem solving aspect. When we have a personal problem, we go to our friend group, we go to our family, we get advice. In the professional world, it's hard to find that space where you can really share what's bugging you or what's an unsolvable problem in a space where it's not going to get back to somebody who's somebody's boss or somebody else's, whatever. In your peer circle, because of the confidential commitment you make when you join, you really can go to that group with tough problems. They can be business challenges that nobody in your company has been able to kind of crack the nut on, or they can be personal things. Like, I can't grow in this company because I'm working with a person I don't get along with. How can I get over this? And there's a very specific format in these peer circles through this particular community that we use to process problems. So it's not like just another group, because other organizations have tried to replicate this model, and I will tell you it is not the same. In this community, when you have a problem and you're bringing an issue to the group, there is a very specific formula for how that group solves the problem with you. And it is based on the Socratic method. So there's a lot of questions that get asked before people then start to go around and give you solutions. But I guarantee you, if you take an issue to a peer group and it gets processed in the way that we process them, you will walk away with a list of things you should be doing differently or trying to help you fix that problem. And you're accountable for it, because the next time you go to the group, you need to give an update on what you did and how it worked out. So it actually is a very disciplined in terms of not just fetching about your problems, but actually doing something about it, which I love, because I can go vent wherever. Benchmarking is kind of the last reason I like to be in these circles. Sometimes I do things in our association a specific way because, it's always been done that way. We hear that all the time. But I just like to see where we stand in terms of certain quality standards, expectations, whether it's personnel policies, adoption of new ideas. If I want to know how what we're doing compares to what everybody else is doing, it's a little different than the trends. It's more about truly benchmarking, like where do we stand in the way that we do things compared to other people. So that's kind of the third big thing I get out of these things, and why I keep showing up, and why I agreed to actually chair one recently, because I never leave feeling like I got nothing out of it. Not a single time have I left one of those peer groups feeling like that was a waste of an hour, or that was never. And I know that several of you who are in the room are part of those circles and probably feel the same way. But for those of you who aren't, talk to Sherry and Kevin, figure out where you might fit in. There are specific circles for specific kinds of people. So, find your people, make the commitment, and do it, because it's like the best investment in yourself you'll ever make. It's like a really cool way to build your professional network. So how does this happen? There are usually quarterly meetings. I think some circles may set their own schedule, but maybe Sherry can tell you guys more if you're interested. I'm happy to talk with you also if you want to know more about it, but that's my thing. I'm always going to cheer them on. Thanks for letting me.
Thanks, Harriet. Kevin, let me just add real quick, just so as Harriet was describing the circles, we literally hand kind of craft these circles. So when she says confidential, like she wouldn't be in a circle with somebody else at her organization. So we can keep those confidential. And when we said we started orgCommunity, I started out today talking about that. One of the things that we got feedback on, everyone's like, this is great education, but this is what we really need. And so we started these circles, and 8 years later, here we are. So thanks, Harriet.
Thanks, Harriet. So your feedback is always important to us. There's a little survey. I think if you go to the platform and go to the tab sessions, there's a link there called evaluation. It's not long. I think it's like 3 or 4 questions, but we use that feedback to make our events better, because it's all about you guys. Before I just turn it over to most of you to send us off to the reception, I just want to say thank you very much to the online folks. A lot of you stayed in there from about 8:15 to now, so thank you very much. And special thank you to Joanna's team offering this platform. So Joanna and Brian and Brandon and Mark and Ray, and thank you very much. Again, another partner that's very easy to work with. We've had some sessions. Of course, there's some technical difficulties, but you know, the online people, I mean, they got through it really quick. And apparently there was some interesting conversations during our breaks that they keep talking about. I don't know what exactly they said, but they keep on saying, that was great, that was great. So good for you guys, and Joanna and team, thank you so much. And Chris, back in the control room, thanks for keeping us there. And then just, you know, some of our folks, Michelle, thank you very much. And Christina, I know you're probably still online, hopefully. Thank you very much for all your help and coordination and keeping us sane. All right, John, come on back up.
Guys, I would not dare keep you longer than 30 seconds. I know my place. So at the end of the day, guys, listen, very grateful. Kevin and Sherry, thank you so much for providing everybody an opportunity. I enjoyed learning about pain points, about trials, tribulations that associations are going through, and how eager you are to share those wins and the pains with this circle. And it's a good circle. So I can't say enough about that. Again, less than 30 seconds. Let's create a network together. If you guys want to learn more information about non-dues revenue generation, member engagement channels, assistance with marketing, we're out here. Myself, my colleague Mari, she's much more interesting than I am. Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot, John. All right, I think there's some beverages waiting for some of us. Again, thanks for coming. Thanks for your participation, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
That's so true. Hey, Brian, it looks like they're ready to have some drinks. I know I've got my beverage of choice. I have no idea what other people are drinking.
I have a beverage, probably not my choice, but I have a few things to still work on. So,
virtual attendees, it has been really, really fun to be your virtual host today. Thank you for sticking with us. You know, Kevin mentioned some technical difficulties. I think they were pretty minor if you think about it. And I'll tell you, Brian, you know, people talk about how it's scary to go live with these virtual conferences, but I think they're missing the fact that in person, there are technical difficulties and people difficulties and air conditioning difficulties and microphone difficulties. So I think it's just par for the course. I want to thank you all for sticking with us. Brian, thanks for being my buddy today. I know that I took a lot from today. Go ahead, Brian.
I was just going to say, it's been great. It's been fun hanging out, but I mean, like content and some of the people I met today, you know, absolutely great. And that last session, every time a session got done, I was like, wow, that was an incredible session. And I mean, just the AI stuff, I mean, we're talking about that. Everyone's talking about that. And it's nice to get some insight, you know, from legal counsel and so forth. Just fabulous presentations today.
You know what I loved about the whole discussion about AI was that they managed to talk about it from different perspectives. There was a whole discussion about tools. There was a discussion about how different organizations are using it. There was the legal perspective. So I felt like in such a short time, we got kind of an overview of what associations are doing with AI, some of the guardrails that we have to put up, and really, but we also got a sense of what's possible with AI. So I think, you know, this time next year, when we're talking about AI during the next Solutions Day, it's going to be a very, very different environment. So I will give you guys a challenge whenever I go to a conference, whenever my staff go to a conference, I say, did you make a friend? Were you part of the conversation, and what are you bringing back to your organization? So I hope that you're bringing back at least 2 or 3 good ideas. And it's not just that was a great conference. So challenge yourself to maybe act on 1 or 2 of these ideas. Try something, you know, share something, be part of the conversation. And last thing, Brian and I are in the platform. So if you want to send a message to me or to Brian, look us up. My email is there. You can also send me a message. The platform will be up for the next couple of weeks. Probably in the next day, we're going to have the recordings of some of these sessions in case you want to watch them with your team. Go for it. If you want to rewatch them because some of this content maybe you missed, you had a meeting, or you just want to rewatch it, it's available to you. We hope and last thing I'll say this, I hope that the virtual attendees felt like they had just as rich an experience as the in-person attendees. And I'll tell you, for the in-person attendees who missed the 2 breaks, oh, Kevin was right. There was amazing content that you virtual attendees got that the in-person attendees did not get. Brian, you ready to sign off?
I think that's a wrap. Let's call it a day.
Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.